The alignment of forces between the moon and the sun, huh? Listen, Artie and I, we're just a couple of ordinary guys. If we were to be asked outright, we would probably say we don't approve of eggs standing on their ends. But since they come that way in the carton, who are we to argue?
Artie cracked a smile. Oh, I'm not so sure of that myself. I do like a sunny side up egg though, or one that's over easy, which implies it was upward and you flipped it over. Never can recall asking for a sideways egg though. Molly scooped the eggs out of the pot and watched as their exteriors dried by themselves. You know, this phenomenon of eggs spinning on their end was studied for more than 100 years. It took until 2002 before a mathematician finally, if you pardon the pun, cracked the code. The solution is rather complex, and you need an understanding of quantum mathematics if you want to understand it for yourself. Oh, I don't know about that. What do you think, Joe? You spin it, and either it stands up on its end or it doesn't. We understand that much. Can't be too complex. Just velocity, friction, conservation of energy.
Yeah, what you said, Artie, is as simple as choosing the path of least resistance, which explains why we walk upright instead of attempting to roll wherever we go.
Good one, Joe. Wonder if Margaret Mead ever thought of that. Molly listened to this back and forth with a wry smile of her own.
Okay, we're ready. Any suggestions about how to begin?
Old Joe surveyed the situation.
Seems to me we need a suitable surface to try it on. The countertop looks good. Just go ahead and give it a spin. Let's see what happens.
Now hold on, cautioned Molly. Just how you spin the egg is important. If you spin it as it naturally rests on the counter, it might not work. I have a feeling you should begin spinning it with a small end slightly tilted upward. Artie, looking thoughtful, remarked, It's sort of like a bowling ball. If you turn your hand as you release the ball, imparting a spin on it, you can watch the pattern on the ball rotate at about 45-degree angle until it gets within about 3 feet to the pins. It stops fighting against itself and makes a sharp turn left or right now following the spin. But everything depends on the angle you spin the ball as you release it. Mr. Wiggle, looking at the drawings of the eggs, said, without any context,
It's inertia.
Walter added,
No, it's centrifugal force.
Zyke, without missing a beat, asked,
You guys ever heard of something called Lee Chung?
We'll start out easy by attempting to stand one of these raw eggs on its end. She reached for one of the fresh eggs, held it between her fingers and thumb on the countertop. The nearer you get to spring equinox, the easier it becomes to stand an egg on its end, even to stand one on the narrow end. The secret is to listen to what the egg is telling you. Old Joe and Artie exchanged exaggerated looks. You have to sense what the egg is doing. Is it wanting to tilt in one direction or the other? Then you have to make the necessary adjustments until you think you have achieved a perfect balance. In doing so, the egg will respond and, she lightly removed her fingers, should stand up on its own. And it did. Artie stared in disbelief. I've seen everything now. Maybe even for the second time. We ought to charge admission. Could make a small fortune. I once heard of this chicken that had its head cut off and didn't die. Mike the chicken lived a few years after that and drew in large crowds. I'm beginning to think that Molly might just be able to charm a spinning egg to stand on its end.
That is what we're about to find out. Give it a spin, Molly.
Walter, Zyke, and Mr. Wiggle, still wondering how it was they all drew the same egg-shaped symbol, were beginning to discuss various proposals that might just make this possible, when Zyke said,
Hey, did you feel that? I just got a whirling sensation in my head. I'm kind of feeling lightheaded now.
Walter responded, I didn't want to say anything, but I had this vision of an egg spinning on its side. It did disorient me for a while, but I think I'm all right now. It seems to have passed." Mr. Wiggle drew in a long breath. "Did you see her? The girl with the long blonde hair?" Zyke and Walter gave him blank stares. "You didn't see her then? The girl spinning the egg? Her image passed right through my head just now, as clear as day, as clear as I see you two sitting here." Zyke and Walter looked at Mr. Wiggle with renewed interest. Zyke shook his head in wonder.
"What do you think this all means? Each of us seeing and feeling different things, like having different pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, and if we assemble them together, what do we get?"
Molly spun the egg on its side, and it traced out a large circle on the countertop. She adjusted her angle, and this time it stayed in a tight space around where she spun it. On the third attempt it remained stationary, and uprighted itself, spinning on its end for a few seconds before it went back on its side.
"What do we get? I don't know,"
answered Mr. Wiggle.
"but I have this strange feeling she is searching for us."